We want our buildings to be part of the solution to the climate crisis. My name is Deirdre McGahern. Most people call me Dee. I own and run a straw bale building design build company called Straworks. A role model that I had when I was a kid, when I was about that age, grade 6, my parents did a major renovation onto our house in Ottawa, and they hired a general contractor to do that, and there was a woman carpenter on the crew, Lucy, and I was just all eyes. I just couldn't get enough of Lucy. So it really captured my imagination and planted a seed. You know, the real message from climate action is we need to start, we need to be making drastic reductions right now, not in 20 years, in 30 years. So the type of energy efficiency that uses, say, spray foam insulation, because they're touting that there'll be a savings of energy by using it, well, by the time we offset all the emissions that went into making that spray foam, you know, it's going to be 50 years down the line, just for example, before we recover all the emissions, before we recover through energy efficiency, all the emissions that went into making that spray foam. So it's that's a bit backwards thinking, spending now to save later. The goal is to build super insulated, natural homes using primarily local materials. I'd say today, in the context of the climate change crisis, that's refined to building carbon storing buildings or carbon sinks. So buildings where the net sum of all the material carbon emissions minus the carbon stored in the building equals net zero or actually negative carbon emissions. That's our current goal. Here we use 7 tons of carbon to build the building. Most of those emissions came from the materials that went into the foundation, like cement, the steel roof, the triple pane windows. But then luckily we used a lot of local wood, a ton of straw bales, hemp insulation, blown-in cellulose, and all of those plant-based materials are storing tons and tons of carbon. They're actually storing 12.5 tons. So 12.5 tons carbon stored minus 7 tons used. We actually have negative 5.5 carbon tons, so we're a sink. I was really inspired by how into it they were, how much they enjoyed working with their hands, and how well they got it. One time that comes to mind was I explained the steps that we were going to go through to raise the back wall of the composter, and then how we were going to raise the other wall and make a corner connection. We went through that together. I turned away to help a couple other groups, and that group just went and got the next wall and made the next corner connection all on their own. So that was a lot of fun to see how much they enjoyed it, and they were on it and they were doing it.
GreenUP,
your resource.